we must preserve those values that ensure harmony and respect for one another. You are Nigeria, and Nigeria is you. This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Every relationship features trust. Employer, employee, supplier, customer, government, citizens. People are willing to put their trust in others because they have faith that these people have their best interests at heart. Government is a social contract. You will ask why or how, we would say so. The citizens voluntarily came together and surrendered their rights to a few people to govern them. These few people or these few persons is what we would term as government. Therefore, in this relationship, how would we rate the trust the citizens have for the leaders they elected into office? Would you say the trust is declining or increasing? Is there openness, fairness, accountability, justice, so many other? The list is endless in this relationship between the government and the citizens. I'd like to welcome you today to NOA River State Dialogue. Our area of focus this morning is building public trust, citizens' expectation. And our guest in the studio today, to my right, is Barrister Deborah EFFIONG. She is the Executive Director, ALIVE, which is Arise for Gender and Livelihood Initiative. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
And I have to my left, Mr. BOMA WARIBO. He is the State Assistant Secretary of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPRO, and he is also the NIPRO Zonal Secretary of the South-South Summit on National Integration, Peace and Security, of which NOA actively participated. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so much.
So, how would you term that summit? It was a huge success.
For me, I lack expression.
Yeah.
Because when you are planning, you're like a pregnant woman who is tilting towards delivery.
Okay.
You don't know what is to come. But like the Hebrew women, when you eventually get into the labor room and come out, you'll be filled with smiles. So I'm full with smiles because we achieved success and very robust. Anyway, it gave us a very, very robust participation and partnership.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the summit was to galvanize citizens into conversations, that will engender peace in Nigeria, especially in this era of growing divergence among citizens and all of those. Ideologically, the quest for restructuring, the quest for the question on integration and all of those. So we needed to come together, and this coming together not necessarily at the elitist point of view, but the grassroots, the everyday Nigerians.
Citizens engaged, more citizens engagement.
Thank you. The real people that own the mandate upon which government institutions, public institutions and all of those try. The real people, the trust owners, we need them to begin to speak up and all of those. That was the
and it was a huge success.
By the grace of God.
So thank you for partnering with NOA on that. So, well, viewers out there, I encourage you to be part of our discussion this morning by going to Facebook and YouTube, search for NOA River State, and click on the like button on Facebook, and you'll be streaming live with us right now. And when you go to YouTube, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. I'd like to start with you, Barrister. Now, in recent times, citizens' conversation is replete with issues of trust between the government and citizens. These issues, about this public trust has raised concerns of exclusion, injustice, so many things. And in your view now, asking you, what is public trust?
Public trust basically has to do with the confidence the public reposes in the government, its agencies, and institutions of government. You know, so trust basically is confidence. I mean, I can hold you accountable. I can actually place my demands. I can actually hold conversations, and I can ask very hard questions. I can place demands, and I will be heard. You know, I'll be heard, and I would be supported in my quest for justice. I will be relevant, and I will become involved, you know, in the issues that affects me as a person. Now, when once that confidence is absent, it means that trust has been abused. And for the citizens, it's a case of we lack confidence, we cannot trust the government, we don't believe the government is sincere. There's also a dimension of trust that has to do with sincerity. That we don't think the government is sincere, or maybe it's just a few persons in government, you know, are those who are willing to make this work. But you know, this is a team thing. When only a percentage is willing to make it work, it cannot work. It cannot actually work, because it's a network, it's a synergy. You know, no one agency exists on its own. So when one agency fails, it becomes an entire failure of the system. So those are the few things I would basically want to say about public trust.
Yeah, I like what you said. You mentioned trust in government is agencies, right? That is
and the institutions
of government. That is key. So the blame is not just, or the trust is not just centered around elected leaders, right? I want us to just place
it's a spread.
It's a spread across.
It's
the
a
government,
spread across.
The institutions, the agencies of government, you know, and all. What would you like to add to that?
Very quickly, I would love to say that public trust is the degree to which the citizens, you know, believe that the system can work. The degree to which the citizens, the extent to which the citizens believe that the system can work. So you can have public trust that is deflated, you can have a deflated public trust, and you can have, you know, a heightened public trust. That is where the degree comes in. So it's a system. So when we talk about a system, the system is an institution that fosters the engineering of society. It could be government, it could be a traditional institution, it could be employee, and all of those. You know, it could be, for example, recently you've been seeing building collapse and all of those. That has the potential to breach public trust on indigenous contractors. You know, so public trust for me is not just when we talk about the citizens. Do you know that even those in government are citizens? And with time, if we begin to have all of these, trust could begin to deflate or deplete on indigenous contractors, and they begin to look out for, you know, foreign contractors. So that is trust. That is public trust. The degree to which citizens, you know, expect a particular institution or the system to work. That is trust. And it could be deflated, like I said, and it could be heightened. I wouldn't want to preempt your other questions.
Okay. So now in a democracy, what do you think are the expectations of citizens from the government?
A system that works. It's as simple as that. A system that works.
But what do you mean by a system that works?
More especially, just like this summit we just finished, that was organized by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, you know, on national integration, peace and security, where we gather stakeholders, traditional institutions, professional bodies, and all of those student bodies, and the communiques available. There has been one recurring problem that almost every stakeholder kept, you know, emphasizing, and that is equity, justice, and transparency. Equity, justice, transparency, and fair play. That has been a recurring demand, you know, that is at the root. People cannot trust you to be equitable. What does it mean to be equitable? You know, we have 5 naira you have 4 children, you want to share 5 naira among your 4 children. You are able to say, okay, A, B, C, take 1 naira each, and I will keep 1 naira to myself, so that there will be no inequity. So equity, or if you like, call it equity, has to do with the extent to which you are fair when administering the resources of a people. So if you are not fair when administering the resources of a people, then there can be no trust. There can be no public trust. And it cannot be said to be a democracy, like you inquired. Democracy is government of the people. So if the people cannot trust you to administer their resources, then you're not legitimate. It is no longer a democracy. It is now oligarchy, government of the few for the interest of the few. And why are we not going to continue? Why are we not going to continue in this snowball of endless imbroglio or crisis or insecurity when all of these are the question? When you talk about Niger Delta, because we are in Niger Delta, we have to talk about Niger Delta. What have been the basic concerns in this part of the world, in this part of Nigeria? It has been resource control. It has been equity. We are saying, if you are taking, for example, look at the PID bill. If you are taking this from us, can you give us so percentage so that ABC can be put in place, so that we are not left, in doldrum? That has been the nagging problem, and it boils down to equity, it boils down to fairness, and that is trust. So when you don't have those trusts, when you cannot ascribe such kind of trust on your government, you shouldn't be surprised when there is a free for all.
Okay. So I'd like you to comment on that also. What do you think are the expectations of the people for government?
Let me borrow BOMA's words. First, a system that works. Unfortunately, we do not have a system that works. Our system is riddled with mediocrity, very low performance rates, distrust. When you also look at the citizens, they are completely disillusioned. There seems to be no hope. Just talk to the average person on the road. There's a lot of despair, there's a lot of hopelessness. People do not exactly understand and know what is going on. The economic hardship is becoming unbearable. And when it gets to that point, you find out that people have reached their peak. They've reached a saturating point. So what the people basically want to say is a government or a system that works. It's a system that is mindful, of their needs. A system that takes into consideration, their humanity. Because we live to give. And when once that is breached, when once that trust is breached, it becomes like, well, to hell, to your tents, O Israel. And that's why you see people get into all sorts of things. You see the maneuvers, you see the compromises, you see the great level of vandalism, you see the great level of criminality. The criminality we are dealing with currently is unbelievable. It's assuming a very disturbing dimension. Yes, there was criminality in the past, but you can't compare to what is currently ongoing. We don't even know exactly where to hold it from. Is it the terrorism? Is it the levels of kidnap? 2 weeks ago, I ran into a friend who just told me she's just been released. She went to shop in Aba. She's a trader, and on her return, she usually parks her car somewhere at Eleme Junction. On her return, by the time she was offloaded or got her goods offloaded, and they were trying to load it into the car, she got into the car trying to manage the central lock. All she had was gunshots. And in the twinkling of an eye, they invaded her car and then dragged her out, put her in the boot, got her tied up. And of course, people were dispersing. Nobody wants to help. And that was how she was in the bush for days. She would have lost her life. And of course, a buoyant ransom was paid to get her released. I mean, how do you get such a person to trust the system?
Yeah, okay. In terms of security.
Yes,
welfare,
you get the person to trust the system. I mean, we are at our own mercy. We provide our security, we provide our infrastructure. Where I live, I pay for vigilante, I pay for a gate man, I pay for the road to be managed, I pay for my refuse disposal, I pay for practically everything. You understand? So what exactly is the government doing?
Okay. I'm going to come back to that.
Without fear of favor and without any gratification. These are one of the ways trust can be established. Trust can also be established by the citizens through their government, through what the government are doing to the citizens, or through the discharge or responsibility of the government to the citizens. By that way, trust will be established. So it is our expectation that when governments are living up to the expectation of the citizens, trust can be established. Trust can also be established between citizens when people keep to their promises, when people keep to their words, and when people respect the rights and obligations of one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Barrister Basam Aibasam. Welcome to NOA Dialogue. And over to you, Mrs. Halliday, the presenter of NOA Dialogue, Port Harcourt. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Olu Samson, reporting from Port Harcourt City local government area, precisely from the River State Judiciary. Now, Mr. BOMA, how would you respond to that? The same thing we'll be talking about here.
Very well.
Yeah.
There's what we call social contracts.
Okay.
The lawyer will understand that better.
Okay.
I will go common sense. Contract is an agreement between two parties to achieve a common purpose or goal or what have you. Now, there is a social contract. You know, those days we were in school, they taught us about constitution. We have written and unwritten constitution. So you may choose to call it an unwritten social contract between citizens and government. Now, what are some of the items on this social contract? We have votes. Citizens are expected to vote. That is their own side of the bargain.
Okay.
We have tax. Citizens are expected to pay their tax. Value-added tax, what have you. That is their own.
I'm going to take you on that. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
That's their own side of the bargain. You know, and we equally have, conduct. How you carry yourself in the society and all of those. That is also your own side of the bargain. Then on the side of government, we have, when you vote, you are expecting the dividends of what we call democracy. Road, pipeline, especially when you have paid your tax. So you have your side of the bargain. The government has its own side of the bargain. That is where the trust comes in.
Okay.
That is where the trust comes in between the both parties. Okay. So why shouldn't there be, if you like, call it a break of hearts that might lead to what one cannot envisage, when one party chooses to willfully, breach his own side of the bargain by either not providing the social amenities that are expected, like she mentioned earlier. You provide your own pipe of water, provide your own. There is hardly any compound now. You won't see a megad. There is hardly any compound now. I don't know if you are using generator to even run this place now. You give yourself power and all of those. So why won't you be disappointed? The expectations, we're talking about the building trust, public trust. You cannot talk about building if we already have public trust. Okay. So the topic already tells us that there is no public trust. Okay. We are trying to see how to build public trust. Okay. So if you want to build public trust, you must first of all fulfill your own side of the bargain. In a family, you have the father, the mother, the children. The child has his responsibility, sweep the ground, do little chores. Yeah. The father has his own role, make provision, make sure we are all doing well. The mother has her own roles as well. So when either of these parties decide not to live up to his or her expectation, there will be problem. And its publics, So would I say governments may not have really come into the realization of the stakeholders' entitlements of its publics? Because some of the stakeholders' entitlements are these dividends I have mentioned. When you begin to meet up their expectations, then we will have a very tranquil and peaceful society. So what is the summary of what I'm saying? Social, and when that happens, we will have a very tranquil society.
Now, the CBN intervention, COVID-19 intervention program, there's been a few of other pockets of
Empower,
and the rest of
national
them.
home feeding, JIP, so many interventions, cash transfer,
exactly.
So many interventions of
well, I'm not a beneficiary of any. I think I tried a couple making applications and they didn't come to me. But that doesn't mean others didn't benefit. But sustainability. It's also one question to it. How sustainable are those intervention programs? Well,
Empower is still on.
In this administration.
Okay.
So let's see.
We're talking about the pandemic era right now.
Yes, I'm trying to restrict my response to the pandemic era, which started from a few other persons who also run local businesses. I could hardly meet people who say they benefited from it, even though we keep hearing, yes, people did. But I haven't had any close person. And again, like I said, how sustainable? You come up with something and you say it's for 2-3 months. Meanwhile, the impact lingers. The impact is still lingering. As I talk to you, there are still many persons that are jobless. So a 2-3 months intervention, how sustainable is it? How sustainable? Recently, I was told about a very major business that had to close down because of the impact of the pandemic. I mean, you know how many people have been sent home. You have to stay home, jobless, and either start looking for alternative livelihoods. I know that governments all over the world try to do as much as they could to cushion the effect of the pandemic. I don't know the rating to place our government, but I won't entirely dismiss their efforts. Efforts were made.
But the trust the citizens had for the government.
No, it didn't. It didn't. Rather, it dwindled.
Yes.
Because
even with the intervention of the government,
there were people who cashed in. I mean, government released a certain amount of money, to get into the hands of people. People profited from it.
So who is to blame?
So the detriment.
Government or ourselves. Because you have said that the trust is also between the citizens. So the government has released.
And then this same thing of nepotism. You find out that if opportunities arise, I call my siblings, I call people from my place. Basically people around me, a few cronies around me who are loyal to me, and I tell them, do this, this is an opportunity. I mean, this is not open to the public. So it becomes, it's a cycle.
A vicious cycle.
Yes, it's a cycle. So the real people who should benefit do not get this.
We have reports on
I must have somebody or know somebody that knows somebody for something to get to me. So how can you build trust that way?
That is a part of it. But we also find out that people still do not believe that these interventions are there. For example, when JIP came up, you understand? You know that even people in the local government area, the thing was they say come out and register. They refuse.
It is a trust
because they don't believe.
Yes.
Then they say there are people that are benefiting from this program.
Mrs. Halliday, let me shock you. An opportunity came up. And they said they were disbursing a certain amount to people. The people who were in charge requested 30% of that amount. 30% of that amount to facilitate it. But they were employed to do that.
They were not government officials?
Well, I wouldn't want to sit here to be that open. You understand? So, but there were people who were involved in the disbursement of it, and it became a condition. So how do you build trust that way?
Let me cut in, if you permit. Now, during the pandemic, remember we are restricting the trust now to the pandemic.
So just trying to give an example.
Can you remember when governments, out of its magnanimity, decided
to be
to
palliatives.
operationalize palliatives.
Palliatives.
I'm coming. I'm
Okay.
driving some of this
Go ahead.
you know, and these palliatives, you know, we are gotten as a result of public trust. I will explain how.
Okay.
At least I know of a multinational. If you want me to mention its name, I could mention. It gave about some billions of naira to maybe dollars to federal government and all of those and other tiers of government. You know, and we have some private individuals that gave him 100 million
money,
and all
yes,
of those.
okay.
They gave that money to government in trust.
Okay.
Now, the items we are gotten all over the country, and you know what happened. Some of the warehouses, how can you buy items and keep them for 1 month? Well, I wouldn't want to hastily say hot. Let me pretend I don't know what happened.
Okay.
You know, and keep them for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. What processes, what protocol are you trying to establish in order for you to disburse
These
or to
items.
share these items? But that was not done until the people became impatient, lost, they got to their elastic limit of trust, and invasion started to happen, and it was a national affair.
Yeah.
You know, it happened almost all around the country.
Okay.
That is an example of a people that don't trust their governments.
Okay.
You know, so if you now come and tell them tomorrow that I'm doing this, they would make a referral to say, no, we're not go hide palliative and all of those.
Okay.
How would you be able to do that? So, like she said, sustainability is one. What are those sustainable things you can do? And come different governments, they will still remain. One of those things is power.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't come and give people share money. This is my personal view.
Okay.
I can be taking. Don't come and share 20,000, 30,000. That's not what Nigerians need. When you feed me today, feed me tomorrow. What happens next tomorrow?
Yeah.
But provide power for me.
To money. Yeah.
If I can't do anything, I can sell ice blocks.
Okay.
If I can't do anything, the tailor will not spend so much. The local seamstress will not spend so much to run her tailoring shop.
Yeah.
The woman doing restaurant will not spend so much to on fan so that
I'm
people
going to
will
come back to that, Mr. Boma.
So much to say.
I'm going to come back to that. I'd like to take on Mrs. Charity Godchild, who is reporting from NOA office, LMA local government area.
Good day, viewers. Thank you, Mrs. Halliday, for having me in this NOA Rivers Dialogue. I am Mrs. Charity Godchild, Community Orientation and Mobilization Officer, LMA Local Government. I'm here in the premises of LMA Women Development Center. We are here to have a topic of building people, building public trust, citizens' expectation. And I'm here with Dr. Mrs. Wopele Dinkpante. Mrs. Wopele Dinkpante is the social welfare officer in charge of social welfare rehabilitation in the zonal headquarters of the local government. I want to say that we are here to present a topic of building people's trust, citizens' expectation. And Mrs. Wopele Dinkpante, what can you say about citizens building people's trust, citizens' expectation in this society today? Thank you, National Orientation Officer. When we are talking about building people's trust in society, we are talking about what the citizens expect in society and what our expectations. Social services. We need regular power supply in society. We need a good drinking water in society. At the same time, the law says the government provide protection for lives and properties in society, but there are insecurities everywhere, kidnapping, stealing everywhere. So our expectation is for government to provide, to protect lives and property. in society. One of our expectations is good roads, governance. Road. When you look at our road is very bad. So our expectation, one of the expectations in society around this our vicinity is good road. Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Thank you, Mrs. Halliday, for having us on NOA Dialogue, Rivers State, Nigeria. Hand over to you, Mrs. Halliday, as a Jimmy. Thank you, the presenter of NOA Dialogue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Charity Godchild, and thank you to the lady out there. You know, it's not the same thing we were talking about here that, you know, Mr. BOMA was trying to hinge on. I'd like to take a lot of comments, because some comments, we have a lot here. I just have to pick up some. I have from Blessing Jumbo. She says government should try and build up the trust of the citizenry by keeping to their promises. Doing the talking that she said government is talking, they should also do the talking. I have from Senibor Abie. He said public trust is so low in Nigeria because government does not keep to its promises, saying one thing and doing another. From Obaro Johnson, he says the social contract as operational in Nigeria is sadly breached. Government has over the years not lived up to its end of the deal, and that naturally has given room for distrust by the citizens. However, all hope is not lost. I like that. Thank you, Mr. Obaro Johnson. He says all hope is not lost. Both sides have erred on the contracts, but it behoves the government to earn trust back by putting the people first above politics and slogan. And sloganeering, you know, you mentioned something, right? You know, it's a two-way thing. It's a two-way thing. It's a social contract. Yes. The government has to do their part. The citizens also have a role to play in this. I'd like to take more comments. I have from Mrs. Rosemary Abehat. She says it's a pity that we don't have equality, we don't have equity, transparency, justice and fair play in our system in Nigeria today. Our leaders don't keep to their words of delivering governance to the people. Samuel Achipad, thank you for streaming live with us. He says, I appreciate the sustenance of this NOA River State Dialogue. Thank you, Mr. Samuel. Thank you for streaming live with us. I also have Peter Ikabe. He says, public trust includes transparency, development of protocols and procedures, credibility, proactivity, put the public first. Collaborate with stakeholders, consistency, education of stakeholders and the public, build your reputation and keeping of promises. Public trust, he mentioned that transparency, development and all that. From Leka Umejuru, the people have really lost confidence in government, especially in the area of non-fulfillment of most of his election promises to the people. Somebody is asking here that what is the role of public trust in government and political institutions? I'd like you to answer that.
The role of public trust in government and its institutions, government has a huge role to play, and we need to regain the confidence of the people. And I think it has to start even with our electoral process, because it is the electoral systems that designs, you know, the way government should play out. I mean, from the point of elections, leaders are voted into office, so that provides the basis, or it provides the platform. Now, if at that very point of elections we can't even get it right, you know, we can't even get it right. We have a system where candidates who stand in for elections are selected and imposed on the people. The will of the people, you know, is not reflected in our governance structure. And then we also have what we call this federal character principle. You know, I mean, the entire country should be represented in the way appointments are being carried out. When a section of the country, you know, is higher or is more visible in terms of appointments, I mean, you kill trust.
Okay.
You kill trust. You invalidate the trust.
Okay.
So government has a lot to do by proving itself, proving that we are fair, we are just, we are equitable.
Yeah.
At the heart of our affairs, we mean well.
Okay.
So they have a huge role. I mean, it should not, we say something in law, justice must not just seem to be done, it must be seen to be manifestly done.
Okay.
So if you say government must show this.
Okay.
Actions, they say, speaks louder than words.
Yeah.
They shouldn't come out, tell us things, and then expect us to believe or have bogus claims. We must see it. We must feel it. Yes, we must see it. When I'm not walk the talk. When I'm not seeing it, it's going to be very difficult for you to convince me.
Okay.
You tell me you're doing well. How? Which indicators are you using to assess yourself? Someone said something exactly. Someone said something when you're dancing. Can you view your back? How do you come out and appraise yourself? The appraisal lies in the hands of the citizens. When you do well, people will say you've done well because it will touch on the fringes.
Okay.
The nooks and crannies of this country.
Yeah.
We will see it. We will feel it. Yes, there's going to be a multiplier effect.
Okay.
So you don't come out, using your agencies exactly, and then you tell us, oh, we are doing well. Ministry of Information says, oh, we are doing well. This one says we are doing well. We are doing well, and then I'm still going through challenges, very big challenges. That would have been taken care of if my government is working.
So don't miss this point.
Okay.
When I was coming in, I looked at the vision, the mission statement of NOA, and it said to promote peace, harmony, and national development. The role of citizens' trust. One, very important, stability. When the people, all what she has said, they are all correct. That's what I wanted to emphasize.
Yes.
No need for the emphasis. Now, when the government is seen to be doing the right thing, and the people believe in the government, the Bible says 1 will chase 1,000, 2 will chase 10,000. The Bible also says 2 cannot work together except they agree. When the people believe in the government, you're going to see that there will be stability, there will be prosperity, there will be cooperation, and most importantly, there will be peace.
Yeah.
Peace is priceless.
Yeah.
We can't negotiate peace, and then society will flourish and thrive.
Okay. We're going to go now to Emoha local government area where we have Ms. Blessing Jumbo standing by to give us an update from Emoha local government area.
Mrs. Jimmy Richard Halliday, thank you for having me on NOA Rivers Dialogue. My name is Blessing Jumbo, BOMA National Orientation Agency in Emoha. We are live in Emoha, premises of the agency. With me is Chief Ikechi Udobonwa.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You are welcome.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, Chief, we are discussing on the issue building public trust, citizens' expectation. What is your take, sir?
Okay, thank you very much. My take on building citizens' trust on the government is that when government national programs and policies for the people, such programs and policies for the people have to be monitored, have to be supervised, making sure that such programs are fully implemented to the grassroots level. That will enhance the public trust on the government from the people, especially using their relevant agencies for such programs. Thank you.
Viewers, you have heard from him. Over to you, Mrs. Jimmy Richard Halliday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blessing Jumbo from Emoha local government area. She is the community orientation and mobilization officer of NOA Emoha local government area. I'd like to take some comments again. I have from Agus Glad. He says public trust is an institution in which government and the private sector have to build with openness, fairness, justice, and equity that will trigger citizens' expectations. Thank you, Mr. Glad Adus. I also have from Bekimbo Williams from Degama local government area. He says public trust can be ascertained when government activities are transparent and accountable to the governed. Corruption in the system is another area where people trust is shaken. So expectations from people are too numerous. Security, good governance, and dividends for democracy. I have from Emmanuel Womets. He says this is a nice topic. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Public trust, expectations, and morale towards good governance, politics, and general betterment of the livelihood by those who call themselves leaders instead of rulers is completely gone. And the hope of regaining and re-establishing the broken bridge between the masses and the government seems to continuously shrink and vanish day by day. Thank you, Patience Joseph. Well done. She says, well done, anyway, River State. Thank you, Mr. Charles Opara. Thank you for streaming live with us. He says, kudos to NOA for setting the pace. Thank you. From Inobong, Ian, she says, government should keep to their promises by making life bearable for the citizens. Now, I said, this is building trust. It's a two-way thing. You know, you were saying something on the part of the citizens. One, don't you think that citizens are also trying to sabotage government efforts?
Well, the truth of
you know, and another that I'm going to ask 2 questions. You know, you also said there were some things you listed on the part of the citizens for them, you know, paying of their taxes. Do people even pay their taxes?
Capital letter, yes. Ask me how.
How? No, let me repeat the question.
No, BOMA, not entirely.
Do people pay their taxes?
Capital letter, yes. Okay, ask me how.
Okay, how?
Now, there are different categories of people in the society.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. Do all citizens pay their taxes?
Most citizens pay their taxes.
Okay, then you can talk.
Now, now there are different categories of individuals in the society.
Okay.
We have the public sector workers, which you fall into.
Yeah.
You compulsorily pay your tax because it's deducted at source.
Okay.
Public servants, civil servants, and all of those. We have the private workers, people who work in organizations that are incorporated. If you go through CAC and all of those, you want to do the right thing.
Yes.
So whether multinationals, whether SMEs and all of those, they pay their tax also. Because if they deduct from source, if you don't pay your tax, you can't do contracts and all of those. You show evidence. Now these are the second. Now the third category are those people you may choose to call hoi polloi, the base element, the everyday Nigerian, the conductor, the market woman, and all of those. Do they pay tax? Yes. There's what we call value-added tax. Whether you like it or not, it goes to government. Yes, it goes to government. If you go to supermarkets, if you go to fast food to eat rice or what have you, they will deduct that from you. If you go the market woman, right, when she gets her goods, if she does importing, directly or indirectly, she pays tax. Remember, we have 2 types of tax. We have direct tax and indirect tax. And your question was, do they pay? I say yes. Well, you didn't specify if it was direct or indirect. So in one way, whether you take it this way or the other way, citizens pay tax. Citizens are contributory to the social or the what you may choose to call the national cake. So they have expectations. Those expectations are entitled expectations. They are entitled to have those expectations. And like I said, you barrister mentioned something about some of these interventionist programs not really trickling down. And I agree with her because I'm one of those that have never participated in none of those. I'm a private worker, I'm a journalist, and all of those. So,
but have you ever applied?
Well, I've made efforts once or twice and it didn't work out. Maybe I'm not the type that believes in you must be employed by government. Maybe that's why. Now I will explain something to you. If government wants to really win public trust, because public trust is expensive, you win it just like you win election. If they want to win public trust, then they must embark on programs that are sustainable. What are some of those programs that are sustainable? One is pipe-borne water. In Nigeria today, we provide water for ourselves. Majority of Nigerians provide water. Water is very essential. Water kills, bad water kills. If you visit the hospital, you know the impact of bad water. Recently, River State Commissioner for Water Resources has been going on a drive, to clamp down on some of these, quack factories and all of those. So, one, pipeline water, two, good road network, so that the farmers and all of those. And I thank God for His Excellency's urban renewal drive. That's the one. He has been involved in urban renewal drive and internal road in community. When you do that, most importantly, power. What is that thing that say power can never be achieved in Nigeria? What is that thing? If you fix the power constraint only, citizens will begin to trust you. They will begin to trust you. And once you earn their trust, you can earn their collaboration. Because you say something, it's a twin-pronged venture. You can't achieve all of these alone. You can't achieve social stability alone as government. You need the collaboration of government, but of the people. But the people need to trust you before they collaborate with you as a critical stakeholder. So when you are able to win their trust, you can as well elicit their collaboration. And when you have their collaboration, then society will be on the way to utopia.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. BOMA. We're going to go back to Port Harcourt City local government area, where we have Mr. Samson Olu right now at Industry Road, Port Harcourt. Let's go to Mr. Samson Olu.
Thank you, Mrs. Halliday, for having me this morning once more again. I remain Olu Samson, and I'm reporting live from Industry Road, Port Harcourt City local government. And my report is on building public trust and citizens' expectations in Nigeria. With me here is Honorable Judge Will. Honorable Judge Will, you're welcome. Honorable Judge Will, please, how can public trust be built, and what are your expectations as citizens, as a citizen of Federal Republic of Nigeria?
Thank you, my brother. Public trust has to do with integrity, and as Nigeria is today, the citizens of this country need public trust from our leaders, but we are not getting it because it is not working. But if, as a good leader, you want us to give us a good public trust, which is integrity, I will use River State for instance. The governor has done a good job. I will say 100%. Because, for instance, look at Opopo today. Opopo can drive down to their own villages, just like Anthony can also drive in a good road. If every leader, under their 4 years or 8 years, gives us an incredible and integrity leadership, we believe today River State or Nigeria will go a very long way. Because, one, the people that elected you on that seat or that position need your public trust. As citizens of Nigeria today, without the public trust from our leaders, I think we don't expect Nigeria will go forward. So as a good leader, every leader today should be able to build the public trust for we the citizens to see and pick up from them. It's not you getting to the office, you are only the people, because we voted you. You are meant to give us a good accountability as a good leadership. So my own opinion on this matter today is let every leader give us a good accountability and an open system of integrity. That is what I would say.
Thank you, Honorable Judge Will. Good to see you. And then over to you, Mrs. Halliday, as the presenter of NOA Dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samson Olu, the Community Orientation and Mobilization Officer, Port Harcourt City Local Government Area National Orientation Agency Office. Thank you again. Now, Mr. BOMA, let me come to Barrister.
I know you're in love with me.
Yeah, let me come to Barrister. You know, there has been a rampant growth in misinformation, hate speech, disinformation, fake news, all over social media. Even the local woman in the village, she just needs to hear one fake news and it spreads like wildfire. That government is not doing it. You know, we have acknowledged here that government has done for people from their leaders. This is our last interview, the man said, you know, he has acknowledged some. The honorable said there are some certain things he has acknowledged that has made life easy for people. You understand? So these things are there, but because of fake news, hate speech, and all that, do you think that has also contributed to the declining trust that the people have for government? Because people just believe things that they don't even know that they just hear it and they believe it. Do you think that has contributed to it?
I agree, it has. And I think
because all over social media, there is nothing you will not see.
You will not see. And that's why also there's been a lot in trying to inform people that we should be able to filter the things we hear.
Okay.
When once an information comes to you, I used to be a victim in the past, even with my level of education.
Okay.
Until, you know, I started asking very hard questions. Why this? Why? And then, of course, when once there's no source to any news, no credible source, let me put the word credible source, it's not forwarded as received. Most times I have to ask people, this source, please, source of this information. So, when once there's no credibility to it, I throw it into the trash. So unfortunately, also illiteracy hasn't helped much. You know, when you go to the rural level, not a lot of people are educated, and they are not able to you know, put question marks to the things that they hear. Interrogate what they hear. You know, but I believe strongly also that fake news has contributed to this declining trust, even though the government itself on the surface and even in the obvious haven't done very well. I wanted to add my voice to what BOMA said, you know, earlier. I can't exactly place the question, but what I wanted to say is for public trust to be regained, government has to do a lot in reducing the cost of governance. The cost of governance is so huge. When we hear the humongous sums that goes to elected officials, we don't believe they are serious. I mean, the only reason why people, you know, take up nomination forms, press, do everything, get desperate to get into public office is the urge to look. If I can get in there, make money for myself and my family for, you know, another 50 years or a century. I mean, so when once the cost of governance is reduced, trust will return. People will think government is serious, not even think, they will believe government is serious. If I get in as a senator or as a House of Assembly member, I'm there to serve. I'm not there to make money. I'm there to serve. I earn per my office. I earn what they call sitting allowances. If I'm not there, I'm not paid. I mean, this thing of sharing money, you know, cracking here and all that has completely created a huge distrust in the hearts of people. I personally do not take government people very seriously. I do not take them. In my work, I've had to interface with some of them, and you hear things like you invite them for meetings and they ask you, how much are you paying us to sit into a meeting? A meeting that we got funding, you know, funding from foreign agencies to come and so probably we want to train legislators, we want to train, and then people are asking you how much they will be paid to sit in to get trained. It's ridiculous. So because, you know why it's like that? It's because from where they are coming from, they've been exposed to, you know, grabbing here, taking here, making so much money. Someone told me yesterday, I'm getting into politics, I'm resigning from the things I do. And of course, you know, within me, I didn't say that, within me, I knew that the only reason he's going into politics is to get part of the cake. Yes, get a piece of the cake. So when once the cost of governance is reduced, we know those who are willing to serve. We know those who are out there to serve. Probably some of us will have the opportunity because we have the interest. We want to give back. We want to serve. If someone said something, I manage a small group and, you know, as little as 200 naira is declared, 50 naira is declared. You know, and someone says you take the pains. I said yes, because I've been able to create that system of accountability. I should know where 50 naira is. I should understand that. So that is it. So a small group that I had, I am that open. Everybody sees what is there. There is nothing we do without, you know, a consensus. And we know where it is going to, and we know what is left. At every point in time, the little finance of that group is declared. You know, it creates that, and if we can start at that level. We will move it, you understand, to any level we attain.
Okay, I agree. But I'm also going to go to Port Harcourt City Local Government Area again, where we have Mr. Olu Samson at Harbour Road.
Mrs. Halliday, for having me this morning. My name is Olu Samson, and I'm coming from the Office of the National Orientation Agency, Rivers State, and the Como Port Harcourt City Local Government. Of course, the treasure base of the nation. I am reporting live from Harbour Road, one of the link roads to Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, and my report is on building public trust and citizens' expectations in Nigeria. With me here is Mebaka. Mr. Mebaka, you're welcome. Mebaka, how can trust be built? And then, what are your expectations as a citizen of Federal Republic of Nigeria? Thank you.
When we talk about trust, what comes out in your mind is honest. When you have somebody that is honest, people in the society will trust that person as an individual. One, when we talk about the things people are doing, like the side of Rivers State, we talk about the good road of our present governor. If you look in the past, the state is not what it is today. You check Anthony, check the people, they have road now, new road that will take them to their villages. Talk about the past. In the past, there was nothing like road in Rivers State that will take you from Port Harcourt to Okoko or Anthony, but today currently we have it. Like we use our present governor as an example. You see the bridges he has constructed. Normally before you take it from park to Rumo Bridge, you spend hours, but now currently there's nothing like hold up. Every road is free. That's all I have to say about the trust and the NSP.
Thank you, Mebaka. You're welcome. Good to have you. And now over to you, Mrs. Halliday, the presenter of NOA Dialogue. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Samson Olu from Port Harcourt City Local Government Area. I know our time is running up fast, and I'd like to come back to you, Mr. BOMA.
Times about this.
Okay.
There is no back and forth about this. It's simple.
Okay.
Consistency in promise delivery.
Okay. Okay.
Consistency in promise delivery.
Okay.
You based off of this program. If I came and the program was not holding, maybe next time.
You say they're not sure. I know you are. Yeah.
So it's not rocket science. We are not saying they should go and bring moon and keep here for citizens to trust them.
Okay.
If you come to seek for elective positions and you say vote for me, please be realistic.
Okay.
Don't come and give us bogus claims. Don't come and tell us you give skyscraper. Don't come and tell us you give 10 million persons jobs. Okay. And then people will begin to think that there is no way I will not fall into 10 million persons. And by the time you come into office, we don't even see 2,000 on top of 10 million. Okay. Be consistent with your promise. If you see this thing is simple. If you say, okay, I'm coming into office, I will do X, Y, Z. You come in, you do X, Y, Z. Whenever there is, even the citizens themselves will be the ones to, okay, Dora Kuyili is no longer alive. But the legacy of her reputation is still on. Yeah. Okay. Why? Because she was consistent with her words. She will tell you, I'm going to Onisha, I'm going to do this, and the next morning you see her match words with action. You know. So when we are able to match words with actions, that is when we can build public trust. And then you mentioned something. Let me summarize. You mentioned something about fake news. Fake news is a big problem. Yes. Because the government sometimes might be innocent of some of the allegations against them. Yeah. Fake news is broad. Under fake news, you have misinformation, we have malinformation, and we have disinformation. Malinformation is the worst. Yes, exactly. I just wake up one morning and tell someone that you stole. Meanwhile, you didn't steal. It's malinformation. Yes. Right? We have disinformation. This is gotten from distorted. Half truths. Government has done this. You reduce it. You try to paint government bad. Yeah. Then we have misinformation. Maybe you are innocently ignorant, but you just want to be among those that are talking.
have more followers.
And have more followers.
Yeah,
And just go
Instagram,
out.
yeah.
So when we have organizations like yours
Yeah.
do what you are doing,
Yeah.
and we have the local government administration, you know, really focus on orientation and reorientation.
Yeah.
You know, it's not alone. You might know something, and what you know is now outdated.
Yeah.
You need to be reorientated.
Yeah.
You know, so when we have organizations like yours, we have the Ministry of Information, we have local government, you know, we have community citizens. They have big job to do. Community development committees in the local communities, the people understand them better. In mass communication, there is what we call two-step flow theory. Two-step flow theory says the people are not enlightened enough to understand what comes from the media. So they depend on their opinion leaders.
Yes, yes. So interpret that.
So that makes it two-step flow, the media, opinion leaders, before you get the masses.
Okay.
So CDC fall into this category. Traditional rulers fall into this category. If we are able to see all of them begin to take up the business of mobilization, orientation, and all of those, and reorientation seriously, maybe we will not be having so much of the distrust.
And we'll have less blame on the government.
Less blame on the government.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Boma. I'd like to give a word to the people.
Yeah,
I think government should focus on.
Yes, I would want to align myself with Boma's thoughts.
Okay.
But very importantly, I would want to emphasize the role NOA is playing.
Okay.
You know, NOA is a bridge. It's a bridge agency between the government and the people. I think government should pay more attention to what NOA is doing and invest in this agency. Now, they have local government offices, local government structures. They have at the state, they have at the national level. Now, if more of these kinds of forums and engagements go on, it will help, it will calm the situation. Yes. And then we have this interpreted in local dialects. We have a lot of media visibility given to these issues. You'll find out that people will begin to know. We leverage on the pidgin English, which the common person speaks very often. So these are some of the things I think government should focus on a lot of media visibility. The media visibility matched with action. With the right action, not just because action can mean anything to them. With the right action, delivering on the dividends of democracy, delivering on government promises, you know, getting the system to work, getting the system to work exactly. You know, I was taught to make things more difficult for the thief. We actually have, you know, the bottlenecks we can put in place to make thieving, stealing, and the rest of it, corruption, difficult. If I'm putting in place and then systems are put in place, it makes stealing difficult. I mean, if I give up my security, if he's going to take the thief twice the effort he would ordinarily take, he could have everything.
Yeah, I like that, because what just came to my mind, I know that if put systems in place to stop this stealing, it cuts across. It cuts across. A contract that is awarded to an indigenous contractor to construct a road, and he goes, gets few substandard materials. And then it looks beautiful. It is commissioned.
And you know why it's like that? Because there are already compromises from the time of awarding of the contract to payment. There's been a lot of compromise. So there's no monitoring and then there's no enforcement.
So when those systems are not put in place and the contract is made nonsensical, you know,
it cannot deliver the contract.
Why would the people trust government when she comes to promise again?
I think citizens also need to rise up to it. You understand?
Not like the NSAS, right?
Not like the NSAS.
But that was the only way they knew they could do it to get the attention of the government.
Not like the NSAS. But you should hold our leaders
strategic engagement
right from the local government areas. You understand? I think also the leaders should be able to hold town hall meetings with their people. You know, needs assessments. What is it that the people need?
Stop this conspiracy of silence.
Yes, and the people, and then the
towards elections, they start rolling out what they want. It's always usually towards elections. By next year, you will start seeing gifts will start coming out.
And you expect citizens to be happy.
And so if the citizens refuse to take these gifts, and then they say,
like we
want to refuse 5,000.
Yeah, we want to tell us what to do
refused a voting district of 5,000.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I wish we can continue. There's so much to say. I want to thank you, viewers, for streaming live with us this morning. Thank you for going to our Facebook and our YouTube channel. Remember that you can catch up on our previous episodes by going to Facebook and also to YouTube. Search for NOA River State, and you will be able to access our past programs on NOA River State Dialogue. Thank you, Barrister Deborah EFFIONG. Thank you, Mr. BOMA WARIBO. It's been great having you here in the studio. And thank you, our viewers out there who took time to stream live with us this morning. Thank you for streaming live with us. This is National Orientation Agency, River State, Nigeria. And I am Mrs. Esanjuri Richard Andy, your anchor on this program. Thank you.
While it is good to identify with our diverse ethnic groups, in national matters, ethnicity leads to widespread exploitation and violence.
It can also lead us to national crises of corruption, poverty, and underdevelopment.
You have a role to play because you are Nigeria, and Nigeria is you.
What must we do?
We must understand, promote, and preserve those values that ensure harmony and respect for one another. You